Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. In case you don't know what this channel is about, it's where we babble about music that we love. I do most of the babbling, obviously, and yes, I do critique the music. I had somebody says, shut up and critique the music on one of my last reviews. It's like, well, I do, but also just share how we've come to know the music, why we love these bands. It's all about that. So if you're looking for a straightforward record review, probably not the place for you. If you just like hearing a different take on things and talking about music, this is the place for you. And if you like that type of thing, like, share, and subscribe. Keep this music alive, like I always say. I usually do it at the end of the videos because I never remember to tell anybody to do it till then. We don't prep anything. We just give our, first listen review. That's why it's called this. I've listened to it maybe once, twice, 3 or 4 times through sometimes, and this is our first what thoughts on what the album is, and I ask anybody to share any cool stories that they have and what they think of the music as well. And it's all just about opinions, and that's what we do here. So anyway, Sammy Hagar, just one of these guys I've been a fan of pretty much my whole life until when I started discovering music in my early teens anyway. And I'm just a fan of his right from the start. Don't remember exactly what the first album of his I actually heard or song I heard. I probably was heavy metal, because I remember watching that movie and he was in the soundtrack, and that was one of the songs that really stuck out to me. And I remember when VOA came out. I know that's kind of one of his more popular albums, but I listened to that one a lot. I remember Dick in the Dirt as being one of the funniest songs I'd ever heard. And, the other songs on there were really catchy. Two Sides of Love, was super catchy, and as a youngster, that one just kind of reached out and grabbed me. So when he joined Van Halen, and I saw I remember sitting at my grandparents' house watching Live Aid on TV, because they had cable and I didn't, so I had to go there to watch it. And I remember specifically going there to do it, and saw him play with Eddie, and I just remember him swearing his head off. I'm like, holy crap, my grandparents are sitting right here watching this with me, shut up. And they came out and Eddie just tore it up. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Because I was a Van Halen fan as well. I mean, 1984 was a huge album, and that was kind of right where I was learning a lot of guitar stuff. And it was devastating when Dave left for a lot of people. And then I saw Sammy was joining. For me, it was a cool thing, and a lot of people hated that. And then, from that point on, it was definitely a change of pace for Van Halen for sure. So anyway, this is the Best of All Worlds album. It's titled that. Obviously that song comes from that first album he did with Van Halen. However, he covers a lot of stuff, and that's kind of what the title meant, like his early career with Montrose solo, Van Halen obviously, up to more recent things. As always, he's got Michael Anthony with him on this one. It's got Joe Satriani on guitar on this one, where he's gone back and forth working with him and his touring guitar player, whose name is escaping me. This happens all the time. I'm really getting a case of the olds again here, but I'm sure somebody will tell me who that is in the comments at some point. And on this one, we got Kenny Aronoff instead of Chad, and on keyboards and guitar on this one, he's got also, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Rye Thistlewaite. He's a guy from Australia who I'm not really familiar with, but he's playing all the keys and all the stuff on this album and does quite an amazing job, quite honestly. I'm definitely not going to go through every single song on here because there's 19. Yes, 19. So, a lot to go through. I'm not going to dive through every little tiny thing here. Just going to go through the highlights for me anyway. And he does the Best of All Worlds. I mean, he covers even some Dave stuff in here, so he really does cover something out of everything anyway in here. Starts out with the newest song, the Encore, Thank You, Goodnight, which was the tribute that, if I could talk, the tribute he did for Eddie. This is a live version, however, so no studio version on here, so interesting way to start the album anyway. So it does that, and then into Top of the World. I just thought that might have been the better way to start the album, but who am I? It still sounded great, so it's an very energetic way to start things. He goes right into Panama, which kind of caught me off guard. I know when we first joined, they didn't do a whole lot of David Lee Roth songs, so in fact, I remember when they did Jump, originally he used to have members of the audience just sing it. So he didn't sing it. I don't know what the big deal about that was. But Panama, track number 3 on here. And then the Summer Nights, which actually was one of the first songs I ever heard of the Sammy era. I think Why Can't This Be Love was probably the first thing I heard, I'm pretty sure, but this was like the second one. And I thought, all right, yeah, I can deal with that. It's a cool, you know, intro to Sammy, and that whole sound of that album was quite different. I know some people hate it. I remember when I first heard it, I didn't care for the sound of it too much. I've just kind of grown to get used to it over the years, but on here's a live version, half the band anyway, with Michael in there, and of course got those high vocals, background vocals going on, and this was a, you know, it's a cool thing. I already said I'm not going to go through every song, but that's kind of what I'm doing already, but I'm going to try to shorten it up a little bit here. You know, There's Only One Way to Rock after that, which he's done right from the start when he joined Van Halen. Cool solo song from his, you know, repertoire, and did a great job of it here. The thing I thought was kind of interesting was the track number 6, Humans Being, which not one of my favorite songs. It's from the Twister soundtrack, and mainly the thing I didn't like about it was the verses, where he just kind of sounds like he's shout singing, I guess. And I didn't care for the studio version of it, but he sings it more on this one. It's still that style, but it's more singing than it is the shouting. And I actually thought it sounded pretty good. I'm like, oh, okay, I wish that would have been the studio way of doing things. Of course, Joe Satriani is just tears the soul up on this one. It's got a very long instrumental midsection to it. And I mean, it was for a soundtrack, so it doesn't, you know, surprise me that they would do that. They have it not as much vocals in that kind of song if it's in a soundtrack. But yeah, I think Joe really did a good job. And, you know, he's filling impossible shoes, or, you know, with shoes that just can't be filled. So I also did notice somewhere, you know, earlier on with the solos, he's not trying to like emulate everything Eddie did. He's just trying to me, it sounds like he's trying to, the key parts are there, but even he's throwing a little bit of his own thing in here and there, and not trying to like do everything Eddie did, because who can? And would we really want that anyway? I mean, because all we're going to do is compare it to how Eddie played. So you're kind of like doing ourselves an inservice, you know, by doing that. If you're listening to it that way, seeing, you know, how well Joe can play Eddie stuff, because Joe's his own guy. He's doing this thing for more like a tribute. I look at it to Eddie's stuff and his catalog, and I think the way he did it was pretty good. So anyway, back to the music. You know, of course, we've got some, you know, classic Van Halen stuff going right now. 5150, I love that song. Pound Cake in here. He actually got the drill thing going on, it sounds like, so that was pretty cool. The interesting one here was Ain't Talking About Love. I probably should check the liner notes on this one, but I didn't. It sounds almost like it's Michael singing on this one. I've heard a couple versions of him singing this, like on YouTube and stuff like that. It almost sounds like he was singing like the parts of the song, but then it sounded like Sammy at the end, so I don't know. Interesting choice. So, you know, he's still going back in the like early catalog there of David Lee Roth, man, off the first album. So, you know, he's staying true to the best of all worlds thing. He's really digging in deep, going way back on that one. And then it goes right from that into Eagles Fly, his first solo venture I think he did after joining Van Halen. He used to do this one just acoustic live in their shows. Here he's got the full band thing going on, which is interesting. So kept things a little bit fresh, so I thought that was pretty cool they did that. Then a whole bunch more, well, not a whole bunch more, a couple more Van Halen songs, Best of Both Worlds and Why Can't This Be Love. You know, I'm sure it was hard to choose what songs to do, you know, so I can't, you know, get too heavy on the songs I wanted to hear, because I mean, with 19 songs, you're going to run out of options at some point. So, but I mean, of course, he has Best of Both Worlds, and it was in the middle of that when they did Celebration. Yes, Kool and the Gang. They started singing Celebration in the middle of that song, which I was amazed how well it fit the music. So that was kind of funny. And then, of course, we got some Montrose with Rock Candy, and then slightly more modern Mastic Heel, which to me sounded like a ripoff of an old song that Rock and Roll. The name of the song is Rock and Roll Part 2, I think. I don't know. In the case the olds are going on, but had that reminiscent thing going on there. Not one of my favorite Sammy songs, but it's a fun party song, I guess. And then the previously mentioned Heavy Metal, cool version of that. Can't Drive 55, which kind of expected to hear on here. Fun version of that. What was surprising was the way he ended the album with Love Walks In and When It's Love, which are more ballady in mood, but somehow really rocked on here, which I thought was interesting. And it actually really worked well the way it ended, so I thought that was cool. Very energetic live performance. These guys are top-notch performers. There was like really no flubs or horrible situations at all. Even Sammy sounded great singing. I don't know if they went back and fixed anything or whatever, but things really sounded good. It sounded like a fun live band, fun live performance. You know, was there different songs I would have rather heard than a couple of these? Yes. Am I happy with the track listing? Yes. Is there anything I can complain about? Not really. So overall, I have to rate this pretty good. I mean, kind of knew what I was expecting going into it anyway. You know, live albums can be, rough sometimes, but this one was pretty good. So that's my quick take on it. As always, like I've said, feel free to share your opinions. I'm sure Sammy's got more stuff coming out, and I'm sure I'll be standing there ready and waiting in line for whatever he comes out with next. And I always say waiting in line. I don't really go to the store anymore. Online, maybe, ordering the stuff. So until then, we'll see you.